How you guys doing? What is going on? Welcome in to Rover. Welcome into Rover Sports, guys, and what a fun little primetime game between the San Francisco 49ers, 9-1, playing Aaron Rodgers, I believe like a 7-2 or an 8-2 Packers team. It's prime time. It's on NBC. Going to be a late night game, and it's exciting. And when we look at last week in the 49ers game, I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo playing against a Vance Joseph defense, against a struggling Patrick Peterson, Emmanuel Sanders goes out of the game last week. And what ends up happening is Jimmy Garoppolo, he does throw a terrible interception in the red zone, and then he had a play where it was thrown behind another receiver. But Jimmy G last week, he put the ball in the air a lot. The running game, for some reason against Arizona, it just hasn't been working. And my theory is kind of a couple of theories. One, I think Kyle Shanahan wanted Jimmy Garoppolo. He wanted to see. This was like a tune-up game for Jimmy, where he wanted to throw a lot of concepts at Jimmy that they've been practicing, and he wanted to put it into the game plan. And he said, Jimmy, even if we lose this game, our whole season is in front of us with the Ravens, the Saints, the Packers. The whole season is in front of us, even if we lose this game. But we need to know how good are our passing concepts. You need to get reps for later in the season where we're going to need you in spots on crucial third downs to lead this team. He also allowed the interior linemen to really practice against pass protect instead of jamming all of these unique running concepts of Tevin Coleman, of Matt Breida, and this team instead of adding to the run. I have been worried about losing Kittle is a huge blocker. And of course, Kittle, I think having the football, he's the most dynamic and best tight end in the league. So if Kittle and Sanders are questionable, I think it is obviously huge to get Kittle in there. And Sanders, that trade is looking really, really good. I mean, Sanders balled out against the Cardinals the first time he was there, and then against Seattle until he got taken out by an injury. Sanders was also proving to be, with Debo, like the number one receiving option on this team outside of George Kittle, obviously. So in this game, I mean, I got to give Aaron Rodgers credit. He's been good this season. He is going to probably play well on the road. I expect a very, very competitive and close game. I do. Now, the key I would love is for Tevin Coleman. I want the zone running game to really work. And what's really, what's really interesting about this game is that Kyle Shanahan and Matt LaFleur came from the same coaching tree in Washington. They came from Washington together, and then they went to Atlanta. So LaFleur has taken everything from the Shanahan. So it is pretty much the same offenses shadowing each other. D Ford is hurt as well, which is absolutely awful. Now, it's not like they're going against Lamar Jackson, but still not having D out there. D has 6.5 sacks, been tremendous. Even when he's not getting the sacks, he's allowing Nick to clean it up, or DeForest, or Eric Armstead, or Blair, or whoever. It's going to be a really tough game for the 49ers, but the key is running the ball, coming up with really good strategic runs, and the key is Tevin Coleman. I don't want this game to all be on Jimmy Garoppolo. I want there to be run and pass throughout the game, and then I think the defense can contain Rodgers, and I think it'll be a nip-and-tuck game the whole way through. The spread is really good. It's going to be a one-possession game. It's going to be a darling of a game in San Francisco. And these are going to be tough. I mean, I don't know if I see them beating the Saints. For some reason, I think they match up against Baltimore really well. So these games are huge, because the 49ers, I think Jimmy Garoppolo is a perfect complementary piece. Now, this season, at times, the arm strength hasn't looked perfect, right? And I'm a little nervous about Jimmy G, slightly. He's a very good quarterback. He can win. He can be clutch. He's everything you look for in a quarterback. So he's a really good player. Jimmy G is a really good player. He doesn't have the same talent as Deshaun Watson or Mahomes, but guess what? You can still win with guys like Jimmy G. So in this game right here, it's Jimmy G versus Aaron. It's going to be an absolute war. I'm going to pick the 49ers close. I'm not going to pick them every week, but they're my Super Bowl pick. Their defense will find a way, and their team. Nice cough again. I just can't get this out of my throat. This team will find a way to win this game. It's going to be an absolute war, and I can't wait. Let's look at the Packers statistic numbers. I think you can run on them. The Eagles ran on them. The Cowboys even had success against them. So rushing stats, all right? So the Green Bay defense, opposing yards per rush, 4.8. So that's not good. McCaffrey was running it down their throat. So Tevin Coleman he's going to be absolutely fantastic in this game. He should be. Breda and that offensive line, it's time to start drawing up the zone running game of Shanahan. Rushing yards a game, I mean, they're in the high 20s. They suck against the run. 126 yards a game given up rushing, at least a touchdown on the ground. So their rushing stats are not that good. In terms of opposing yards passing through the air, they give up 257 yards passing through the air, which also isn't that great. The Packers have kind of had an easy schedule. They don't blow a lot of teams out. They've had games at home. They beat a good Dallas team. They have Aaron Rodgers. They've got to play Matt Moore without, Mahomes. And they've been a decent team all year, and Rodgers has carried them in spots. They played the Raiders at the right time. They've played teams at the right time, but they've also had Aaron go off in times when they've needed it. In terms of running a game, they're fine running the football. They're fine running the football, and then they have Aaron Rodgers. So their stats aren't blowing you off the table, but the Packers are still. I think that they still have good pieces. Like, I like Jair Alexander. He is a good football player on this defense. Blake Martinez is a good player. Clark in the middle of the field, all right? So, the Packers, they beat the Raiders, the Chiefs. They lost to the Chargers, but then they beat the Panthers, right? Then they had the bye week. The Packers also beat Denver. They beat the Lions earlier in the year. Remember that missed call. So their strength of schedule isn't great, but they're still finding ways to win, right? And it's still Aaron Rodgers, and you're still without Kittle. You still might be without Kittle. So, but it could be really good news. And if the Niners run the football, if they get a pass rush, the game's at home, the Niners can win this game. So that makes me feel even better looking at the rushing stats, looking at the strength of schedule. Packers off of the bye, might be rusty. It all comes down to the running game. Running game's the key to this game. Jimmy Garoppolo is a great assistant to the running game. Even in that Cardinals game, it got dicey with him having to carry the team. So up front is the game. And Jimmy needs all his weapons to be at his best. He needs Kittle. He needs Kittle to play, needs Sanders to play if Jimmy G is going to be at peak of power. So it's going to be a fun game. I'll definitely go. And before Tuesday, before we head out for Thanksgiving, I will view Garoppolo, and I will view exactly what Jimmy G is up to and how he's doing. So, alrighty, guys, thanks for watching the vid, all right? Take care. Go Niners. Let's have a good game on Sunday Night Football.